post this. Duffour goes home with 5.7 billion Unibank cash. That's another way of speaking about the Attorney General's decision on his case with the state and 7 others. Details of that, page 3 of the Daily Gist newspaper. Then there's the talk about Kevin Taylor. Kevin Taylor walks free after Supreme Court quashes arrest warrant, and ECG blows 75 million cedis on Habital without contract. That's some of the details we are learning from the latest Auditor General report. And minority petitions, President Mahama for meeting on Thursday.
If you go to the news center, the Duffour stories on the front page. Dr. Kobna Duffour and Duffour Jr. are both on the front page. 5.7 billion Ghana cedi case against Dr. Duffour's son, others dropped. Ashanti NPP backs Coca to replace Wontumi. BOG orders shipping industry to publish exchange rates daily. And ECG bleeds billions, and the paper gives us the various lines. Over 5 million Ghana cedis worth of unused meters abandoned, 4.2 billion Ghana cedi revenue not reported disbursed, 2.4 million Ghana cedi office renovation project stalled, $30.7 million paid for items worth $13.6 million. Auditor General stops 101 million Ghana cedi Habital debt, and it goes on and on and on and on to give us the numbers. The final point says that ECG owes Bui Power over $729 million.
The Daily Guide. AG frees Kpebu Duffour and NPP boycotts Ablekuma North. MP swearing in. Comes to the picture of the leader of the minority side, Alexander Apenyu Markin. Mahama Cares bill passed amid minority opposition. Then there's the talk about Supreme Court quashing the 5-year Kevin Taylor arrest warrant. Energy Ministry records 15.8 billion Ghana cedis irregularities. All of those details come as fallouts from the Auditor General's report.
Now, if you go to the BNFT, ECG not so culprit in power sector crisis, IPPG reports calls for system-wide reform. Diaspora remittances jumped to $6.6 billion, and CBG welcomes a new board chairman. VFS Global state-of-the-art visa facility in Accra, enhancing convenience, and experts urge practical action to turn intra-Africa trade policies into results. More stories from the BNFT. Chinese firms explore opportunities under 24-hour economy program, and African lawyers encouraged to amplify the continent's innovations towards improved trade practices.
And just yesterday, Kujo was re-echoing the need for development up north. Looks like the Northern Development Forum has been held, and the Daily Graphic is talking about that as well. It says law-backed development plan a must, and that's according to Nandani. And of course, the details are on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Quite shy about this one though, but children abandon school for marijuana in farms within the Volta region. That's on the Daily Graphic as well. And Graphic and ICGIA Insurance are doing quite some collaborations there. And Attorney General discontinues case against Duffour and 7 others. So some of the stories here on the Daily Graphic.
Let's get to the online news review brought to us by Zenith Bank. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
And of course, get paid smarter with Zenith Merchant Pay. Running a business, make receiving payments fast, easy, and stress-free with the Zenith Merchant Pay, the seamless solution for SMEs and corporates. Well, with the Zenith Merchant Pay, you can receive payments via mobile money, a QR code, bank transfer. You can use the *966# Zenith Bank's USSD in real time. Also enjoy instant payments, alerts, and quick settlement and easy reconciliation. So no delays at all, no stress. Sign up for the Zenith Merchant Pay today at any Zenith Bank branch near you and enjoy fast, secure, instant payments anywhere in Ghana. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
If you go to my job online, we inherited over 700 million Ghana cedis in unpaid scholarship funds. This is George Opare Ado. He's the Minister for Youth, right?
Yes, Youth and Empowerment.
Youth, yes. And he's also saying that government will pay the 700 million Ghana cedis in scholarship debts. Still on scholarships, he says GNPC has no business administering scholarships, and that scholarships should be the responsibility of a centralized authority. So GNPC has no business in administering scholarships. Now, the Chief of Staff is also on my job online. Leadership is quiet, preparation, serve with integrity. This is the Chief of Staff urging the youth. In Parliament, Patricia Pieje rejects replacing Afenyo Markin on ECOWAS Parliament delegation. And we've seen a letter to the Speaker of Parliament. She says no, she won't do it, and that we need to follow the right procedure. Youth Minister demands end to state-sponsored scholarships for local courses abroad. So he's agreeing with people who say that if the universities here have the courses, we should not sponsor students to go abroad for the same courses.
And could you, is it not surprising that in Ghana, when you want a scholarship, for instance, the PhD, I have friends who are on scholarship, and they are actually, being given 15,000 Ghana cedis a year.
Yeah.
Our fees is more than 15,000. But when somebody travels outside the country, even to do a master's degree, that person gets the whole fees covered with stipends.
Yes.
This guy is here, 15,000 a year. Meanwhile, his fees are more than 15,000.
We need to strategically use scholarship funds to enable our local universities absorb more students and train more people locally, and also expand their infrastructure. Now, the other story is that the AG has dropped the charges against Duffour, 7 others over the Unibank collapse. Let me give you details of that story, because I'm sure you are itching to.
Yes, we want to get into the line. So just give me the details briefly, and then we get onto the phone lines.
David Apinga writes that the Attorney General has today, that was yesterday, entered a nolle prosequi in the high-profile case involving former Finance Minister Dr. Duffour and 7 others who were facing charges related to the collapse of Unibank. The decision, announced by the Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Sremsai, effectively discontinues the criminal proceedings against the accused, a move the AG's office attributes to the significant recovery of state funds. Now, if you read the story in detail, court documents at the time allege that Duffour received 663 million Ghana cedis, approximately $122 million at the time. Now, Unibank was declared insolvent in August 2018 by the Bank of Ghana. And according to the Deputy Attorney General's press release, the Office of the Attorney General, in collaboration with other state agencies such as the Economic and Organized Crime Office, established a threshold of 60% recovery of the alleged losses as a condition for reconsidering prosecution in specific cases.
Okay, so let's get on to the phone lines. Nana J. Bafwewa is a member of Parliament for Menchia South and also a lawyer. He's joined us on the phone. We're expected to be joined by Martin Kpebu also. Nana J., good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, my brother, and thanks for having me too.
Great. So let's get into it. Now, the Attorney General has indicated that, together with some state agencies such as IOCO, they've established a threshold of 60% recovery of alleged losses as a condition for reconsidering prosecution in specific cases. Good news?
Whether or not it is good news will be dependent on what you want in this matter. If you are in the position of the Attorney General making a decision of this nature, what would be your objective?
If you were in this position, what would be your objective?
When you prosecute, first and foremost, let's carry our listeners along with us.
Okay.
When you prosecute, you have the objective of punishing to deter others from committing similar wrong.
Okay.
And then rehabilitating the offenders so that they don't commit that wrong again. This, these are two of some of the objectives. But when you are also prosecuting in a matter which the state has lost money, I believe that you need to bring commerce to bear. Your objective should not be simply be, prosecuting to achieve conviction, but to also recover money, particularly in this instance where the state used in excess of 20 billion cedis to do the cleanup. If the state doesn't recover money, I think that a great injustice would have been done to the state. And so, put in this position, my objective will be to recover as much money for the state as possible. And so, in this regard, I would go along with them in negotiating to realize some money for the state. Having established this principle and objective, the subsequent question will be, in the circumstance, is the 60% the question will be 60% of how much? Because Dr. Duffour himself, at the time, wrote a letter. I've forgotten who that was addressed to, whether the governor or the attorney general, but I really suspect it was the governor, where he acknowledged that the funds, which was in the sum of 5 billion cedis thereabout,
5.3 billion, yes.
5.3 billion, was procured as a loan by the directors of the bank, and that the money was used in procuring properties, and that they were ready, willing, and able to sell the properties to pay off the debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in this instance, how much is the 60%? Is the 60% the 5.3 billion, or the 60% of 5.3 billion? 60% of 5.3 billion will be around
3 billion. 1 billion. 3.2 billion, yes, they're about 3.2 billion.
3.6 billion thereabouts. 3.6 billion thereabouts. And so you'll be asking yourself, how come previously he had committed to paying 5.3 billion, but at this point he is paying over 1.5 billion less than what he had previously committed? That is where the problem would be. It would then be that the country is not getting value at this point. So this is where we want to hold the leg and neck of the Attorney General for poor negotiations, perhaps.
You don't have a problem, except that you would want all the money lost to the state recovered. Is that the case?
All the money lost to the state, as previously committed to being paid by Dr. Duffour and the other directors.
Okay.
Right? He did not only commit to making that payment, he actually showed us where that money was, and that money was readily available in properties. And I believe that the state at that point must have gone ahead, right, to freeze the properties. So those properties are there. In fact, the values of those properties may have even appreciated, in fact, have appreciated. And so if the values of those properties have appreciated, and now he is going to settle the money, why does he pay less than he had previously committed? Okay? And so, very respectfully, my brother Winston, what you and all other journalists of this country should be demanding from the Attorney General: details of the settlement terms. Details of it. Because the other thing is also that if you are not careful, in the circumstance where you have negotiated for him to pay less, you also don't know other poor terms and conditions that may exist in the agreement. Why am I saying so? I was part of the I was a defense counsel in the in that matter. I've forgotten that venture capital matter.
Okay.
Where a settlement of this nature was reached. Subsequently, recovering the money became a problem, even though there were properties and there were commitments to sell the properties to pay the debt. Right? It became a problem. And so here, you want to understand the payment terms. How long is he going to take to pay the money? Do we have security for repayment in the form of the properties which the monies are held in? What are the terms? Are you getting me? Yeah. And so you should all be demanding for the payment terms, the details. The devil is in the details, right? And so for me, if we can realize as much as possible from him, particularly in the light of his earlier commitment and proof of the source of payment, I have no doubt that it is better than proceeding with the prosecution.
Can you hold on for me, because we've been joined by Martin Kpebu, who is also a private legal practitioner. Martin, good morning, and thank you very much for joining.
Good morning. Wilson, what you say? Good morning.
Great, Martin. So what's your own position on this decision by the Attorney General?
Okay, so I embrace it fully, all right? It's a bold decision. It's the right thing to do. And, we've said it time ad nauseum that we need to improve our law in respect of non-conviction-based asset recovery. This is one of them, okay? Even though we've not written it out in law, but practically this is what we call non-conviction-based asset recovery. You see, most of the time when we insist on convicting the person first before we recover, it takes years because, you see, these people are often strong people, rich. They get the best lawyers in town, and they can, let me put it crudely. Once in a while, we have to say it that way. They can get lawyers to delay, okay? And eventually, the cases don't end in a conviction. You see, and so then we lose everything. So this is what we call half a loaf is better than none.
Now, but Martin, talking about
half a loaf is better than none. People will say it breeds impunity, blah, blah, blah. Winston, I'll bet that let's plan for maybe 2-3 weeks from now, one full program to discuss asset-based conviction and non-conviction-based asset recovery. In the US, UK, etc., where they have far better systems, they still do that thing. The state cannot win every case. It's not possible.
Okay.
Not on this earth. The state cannot win every case. So those who say it's encouraging impunity and the rest, a lot of the time is because it's not their area, so I can understand. That's why I'm saying we should give more education. So to make it short on this, I embrace it, but I also agree with Duffour that we need further and better particulars.
Okay.
The terms is mentioned, how much the figures are, but I'm sure Attorney General should have known that for Ghanaians, the moment you bring this out, minimum will ask how much is it, etc.
Okay. So, Martin,
I don't know. I haven't had opportunity to look at the letter again. They did say they will come out with further details. I don't
see that in there. I don't see that in there. But Martin,
we'll beg the Attorney General, he should have seen that coming.
Yes.
I think the fact that they didn't write that is very disappointing. This society, they should know that there are other lawyers, and if you don't even need only lawyers, there are other people who are, let me say, educated. I'm not saying literate, because even if you translated this into Twi, you'll get people who've not received formal education who say, they need further details. So maybe next time they have to add such a sentence so that we don't, because I know they know all of this.
Okay.
I know maybe if the letter was written in a rush or
no, I have seen, I've just gone through the letter again. It doesn't say that it will come with further and better particulars. It ends by saying, this decision, however, does not imply an absence of wrongdoing nor a vindication of any conduct. It's a pragmatic step in line with the overarching national interest of recovering state resources. The Honorable Attorney General remains resolute in his commitment to upholding the rule of law, protecting the public purse, and pursuing justice in all matters of national. And let's get to, so this is the point Ghanaians are making. You cost the state, or you take 100% of funds lost to the state, and then the state says, I am going to recover 60%, and based on a recovery of 60%, in certain circumstances, and this is where Ghanaians are beginning to raise questions, in certain circumstances, the state feels is enough. I'll just read this point. It says, in pursuit of this objective, the Attorney General, in collaboration with other relevant agencies, established a threshold of 60% recovery of the alleged losses to the state as a condition for reconsidering prosecution in specific cases. Martin Kpebu, what are these specific cases? And wouldn't the case of Atu Essien have convinced us that we can actually get more for the state? Because in his case, Atu Essien had to pay some 30 million cedis more in addition to the outstanding 56 million that he admitted to having taken?
Listen, I see your point. I take it. But let me also, so meaning that because Atuasian promised to pay extra by way of interest, we should be pressing for interest. Yes, that's the ideal situation. That's why I said when we do the law on non-conviction based asset recovery, we'll put in all of this. But that cannot be the only standard. That is to say, if there is 60% available, and so that means you can't get the remaining 40%, you cannot get interest, then we should walk away. No. I like the way you put it. Yes, Ghana is a continuum. Okay, it's a corporate entity. Will continue for years. So sometimes we shouldn't say that, just because in this particular one we are not getting 100%, we are not getting interest, then that's a bad deal. Let's walk away. No. Every time it comes to money, let's look at the plight of the schools under trees. Let's look at those who cannot afford 3 square meals a day, and they are in millions.
Martin, we've seen the courts actually convicting people, sentencing them, and asking them to pay fines, failure for which they serve other years in jail. So?
Excellent. So we'll come back to the same point. He said the court convicting them.
Yes.
We're saying that these cases we are talking about, these are cases involving very powerful men who get the best of lawyers. So that conviction you are talking about... Don't
we have the best of lawyers in the Attorney General's department, including the AG and the deputy?
Yeah, so AG2 has the best of lawyers.
Didn't they be fighting it then?
It takes years, but we want closure quickly, and also we want half a loaf is better than no bread. So where you say you want to go 9 yards, your 9 yards may end up in another regime, and then maybe the cases will be cancelled altogether. You remember the cases that were cancelled, you see, where citizens were not happy. And by the way, let's remind the Attorney General, he said the Collins Zauda matter, he will do some evaluation to see whether we are due some money. And we propose that some of us in civil society should be put on the committee so that we can see and then inform Ghanaians. Sometimes Ghanaians don't trust politicians. So those of us who are in the middle should be brought on the committee. It shouldn't be only Attorney General's people.
Let's look at the signal, the sense. Martin, let's look at the signal before I get to Bafwewa. Now, Dr. Kwabena Duffour is known. Served as governor of the Bank of Ghana, served as finance minister under Professor John Evans Atta Mills. He is a person believed, he's a member of the NDC, which is in government now. How does the Attorney General convince anybody that this decision is not a politically motivated one to save Dr. Kwabena Duffour when the state can actually get more from him?
Good. Then the Attorney General can come out and give assurances that, one, and I support it, if Ufuria test case comes, those that are under his jurisdiction, not the OSP ones. I understand the Attorney General is also pursuing him for different set of offenses. If Ufuria test case comes and Ufuria 2 can offer something like this, he will take it. So in other words, it should be clear that it's not limited to people of the NDC stock.
So Mr. Kpebu, are you suggesting that when the taxpayers' money is misused, we should cut deals with people involved without getting full refund for the taxpayer? Now, there are cases where people are very hungry and they steal a bunch of plantains. They are taken to court and sentenced. Can we not use this same non-conviction based asset recovery for them? And I think I'm not a lawyer, but my basic knowledge of NCBs is when the suspects are dead, missing, unknown, or immune from prosecution. In this case, we know the Hoda group is there, the House of Duffour assets. All these things have been made public. So 60%, are we not regularizing institutional corruption where people who have the means will then possibly take from the states and go into these arrangements?
Okay, Kojo, thank you. Yeah, that's a very comprehensive, well-informed question. Yes, Kojo. So my simple answer is that, number one, the non-conviction based assets recovery, it also involves situations where the state doesn't have enough evidence to prosecute. So that's, in essence, also a form of plea bargaining. Yes, it involves that. I don't know if the source is read. Maybe later. That's why I said after this we should plan for a full debate.
But Mr. Kpebu, in this case, if the people involved have agreed to pay up to 60%, then there's an admission of a crime, for want of a better word. I'm not a lawyer, so forgive me if I'm not using the right legal expressions,
yes.
right?
Even the letter states so.
Yes,
that this does not mean that there was no wrongdoing. So we are allowed. You are allowed to interpret it how you want. The letter, the AG's letter, if you look at it, I think down the paragraph, it says this does not mean that there was no wrongdoing. Yeah, so we are entitled to say,
so
in any event,
if there is wrongdoing, people like you and I,
allowed to impute.
People like you and I and people who have the state at heart should push for the AG to recover everything. And in the absence of that, whatever we get, the people involved should go to prison for what we don't get. Somebody is in prison for this. And I don't think we should make any exceptions.
No, because you're that one there any day. That's why I told you, if we were to do this, ask yourself. I'm sure you've seen the US system. You see now, you've even given me the short form, non-conviction based asset recovery, etc. There is no place under this earth where the state can win all of its cases. That one, I think we should accept it.
Yeah, but Martin, the point is that you know the assets. Get 100%. Why are you trying to get 60%?
Good. So then that's why we then come back. You see, earlier on, I said some of these things. Perhaps maybe we can evolve our own system where we say the people who are involved in the negotiation will not be only attorney general's lawyers. They should get independent lawyers. Like the way when you are dealing with the Chief Justice removal system, the Supreme Court said get an independent lawyer of repute. So let's evolve our own systems where we'll put independent people who will swear any day that this lawyer, and not only lawyers, accountants, etc., will watch for the rest of our society that, in the negotiations, in the asset tracing, what you are talking about, they should trace the assets. So these independent people will be embedded in the committees and the experts trying to recover, so that when these independent people come to confirm that, look, this is what we could get, I'm sure we will get better acceptance from the society than only the Attorney General doing it.
Now, hold on for me, Martin and J. Bafwe. Well, let me bring in Suleiman Brahma, who is the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. In fact, he posted his questions on Facebook, on social media, asking for further and better particulars. Suleiman, good morning, and thank you very much for joining.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning to Nemeje, and good morning to Martin.
Thank you.
Suleiman, we've been speaking to Martin and Aneje. Now, Martin, that was speaking when you joined, indicates that, well, it's not every case that you can win. So sometimes you should make do with what you can have. What do you say?
Well, I certainly agree. If you are going into a case and you know that you don't have strong basis, you don't have the evidence to be able to convict, then perhaps you would say, well, if I can get something from this, that's fine. I think that was the issue that came up when eventually the Japa acquittal happened, because people said, well, the Big C company or whatever their name is, at some point was prepared to pay a certain amount, and the AG then turned it down. And it then turns out that we get zero instead of whatever we could have gotten.
Sure.
Now, in that case, we are talking about a situation where the AG says, I believe on this matter, even if I proceed, there's no way I can convict and be able to recover the resources. And under the circumstances, whatever this person has offered, we have accepted it. But if you look at the letter yesterday, that's not it. It concludes by, as Martin was saying, it concludes by saying that this is not to say that there was no wrongdoing. And I'm happy that someone like Martin was part of the oral committee. And oral, we were told, is Operation Recover All Loot. I don't think it was Operation Recover Partial Loot. And I think if we are going by it this way, as I said yesterday, if I misappropriate 100 million cedis or something, to that effect, and then in the end, I know that the system is said that if I put forward even not 60%, but 70% of whatever has been taken, then I'm going to do away with the 30%. So the example that I said, if it involves 100 million, and I know that if I manage to give out 70 million, I can keep the 30 million cedis for free. Then that's an incentive to engage in all manner of things. National service. The AG tells us that the amount involves over 500 million. Assuming we are told tomorrow that the people involved have agreed to maybe bring forward recoveries to the tune of 70%, and therefore they should go away. What that means is that if indeed the amounts that the AG quoted are something that we should go by, what it means that for every 100 million out of that 500 million, somebody is keeping 30 million. So in the end, people can return about 350 and keep 150 million. If I stole or I misappropriated state funds, or if I'm in charge of state money, and today I decide to use it to build 100 estate houses, in the end, when I am caught, all I do is make sure that I'm able to present about 70 of these houses, or even if I want to go high, I can present about 80 of these houses to the state. Then the state says, well, we've been able to recover even more than the 60% threshold. Now we've recovered 80%. Now I keep 20 houses to myself. Is that the kind of country we want to build? So that it is okay to steal or to loot or to misappropriate. If you are not caught, you go away with it. If you are caught, you refund 60 or 70%, and then you keep the rest. Is that the country? I mean, is that why we are involved in all this fight against corruption and so on and so forth? As I said, I think Martin and others were busily involved in Operation Recover All Loot, not Operation Recover Partial Loot. And I think that the AG, perhaps on this particular occasion, needs to come out and explain further to Ghanaians how much was involved, how much has been recovered, why did they deem it fit that they should take whatever they have recovered and then discontinue the case. Otherwise, I think that perhaps we should all abandon this whole effort of anti-corruption and engage in other things.
Okay, let me just say that we're unable to bring you the BBC News because of the conversation we're having. The BBC News brought to us by Fidelity Bank, Believe With Us, and Glyco, we cushion you for life. Now, the point that you make, Suleimana, would take me to a point of accountability. We are all saying that when it comes to accountability, beyond the recognition of authority, there's interrogation and sanctioning. How does this defeat the basic principles of holding people to account for things?
I think it defeats everything, not just even holding people to account, but also the principle of deterrence. Because some of these things are done so that others will see the sanctions and not even want to engage in certain acts. But like I said, if I can take whatever, if I am caught, return this, leave the rest, enjoy it in freedom, then what is accountability about that? I don't even think that when people misappropriate state money, it should even be about recover everything. Because if I stole or if I misappropriated 100 million in 2021, and today all you are looking for is the 100 million, and I didn't decide to give you the 100 million, which you would say is 100% recovery. That's not it. Because if I even put the 100 million just in treasury bill alone, for the last 4 years, how much would I have made? So that if I return the 100 billion, you say you have recovered 100%. I don't think that it makes sense. And as I said, if this is how we're going to go about it, then there is actually incentive to steal from the state. Because there's no sanction, there is no deterrence, there's no accountability. Just refund whatever you have looted. It's not even all, part of it. So long as it's a 60% plus, you are free to go. I think if this is it, then really, as I said, there is incentive for many people to do a lot of things against this country.
Nanaje, thank you very much, Suleiman. Let me get to you, Nanaje Bafwewa, finally. Nanaje Bafwewa, so Suleiman Abraham makes the point. If we continue this way, we'll be incentivizing people to fleece the state, isn't it?
Certainly. I mean, if you continue this way by poorly negotiating settlement arrangements of the sort, then there's a problem. Dr. Duffour's letter is there. He said he made a clear admission of 5.3 billion cedis At the time, it was $1 billion. Dr. Duffour again stated that the funds were used in procuring properties, acquiring properties. They were ready, willing, and able to sell them. Why is the AG settling for 60%? So we want to know 60% of what? It is very, very important, again, because the AG himself was a lawyer in this matter. He was a lawyer in this matter, a defense counsel in this matter. And so we want to make sure that his affinity or prior relationship would not have compromised the interest of the state. It's very, very important. Extremely important. We cannot, like Mr. Brimer said, oral means Operation Recover All Loot. Right? It cannot be Operation Recover Some Loot or Operation Recover Some Loot from some people and then Operation Leave NDC elements to go away. It's very important. I think that the trajectory Martin is going, yes, it is in principle good, but we think that in terms of what have been settled, right, it is not enough to say that in the specific circumstance of this matter, I'm saying specific circumstance of this matter because the facts of this matter are different. The facts as have played out, right, it's not like one where you can say that every little that you are able to recover should be enough. No, the facts show something. Look, my brother Winston, I was involved in this matter at some point, and I can tell you that already this matter has suffered very poor judgment. In my humble view, when I went into this matter, I discovered the extent to which Unibank had been of so much help to the Ghanaian entrepreneur, and I commend Dr. Duffour and Unibank in that regard. I'm not surprised that with the collapse of Unibank, right, in fact, the private sector suffered. And so I commend Dr. Duffour and his household for the support that they've given to the private sector so far. They did very well. I mean, when I went into this matter, I was amazed the kind of support, and it gave me a very good understanding why we need Ghanaian banks, because they tend to do a lot of things on flexible terms for the Ghanaian entrepreneur. And so let's commend them. That is not what we are talking about here. We are talking about the terms that the AG has given us. So the AG would have to come out to explain to us in details what the terms are and what informed the positions he took in accepting the terms which, he settled on. I think that they are very, very, very important. In recent
Counsel, if I may, Blessed here, just a brief point on how you arrived at the point that the Attorney General did not negotiate properly when the statement indicates that the accused persons and not person had reached the threshold for the 60%. Do you know the burden of this 5.3 billion that Dr. Duffour himself holds?
That is why I am saying that in the light of that letter that Dr. Duffour wrote, we need to understand what the 60% means. That letter was signed by Dr. Duffour.
So you have absolutely no knowledge of how much of the burden Dr. Duffour holds. I'm asking that question because when it comes to criminal prosecution, you do know that each and everyone will be accountable for himself.
So if you understand the matter at hand, it is not limited to Dr. Duffour. He wrote the letter for and on behalf of the directors of the bank and other entities involved, and made specific admissions of liability. The liability being the 5.3 billion cedis.
That's a collective. My point is that is a collective amount. Do you know specifically the burden Dr. Duffour holds? Because then if you look at the letter, the AG's release, it is not limited to Dr. Duffour. And so if you say, I know how much he holds in terms of liability,
that for me is very respectfully a non-starter. It was a collective letter. The release was also in respect of all the accused persons involved. And that is why we are asking for details so we can do further analysis on it, whether indeed the settlement is value for money for the Republic of Ghana.
But you were conclusive. You said that there was a poor negotiation, and that's why I'm asking you the question, that when it comes to criminal prosecution, every individual will be accountable for themselves.
Concluded on anything. The analysis that has been made, right, is clearly on assumptions, subject to further details. I proceeded on the tangent that there is a premise. The premise being that letter. And so we are waiting for the details to determine whether in the scheme of things, whether in the circumstance of that letter which was written, this deal is a very good one or a poorly negotiated one.
Okay.
And so it was subject to a conditional analysis.
Okay. Finally, Martin.
Yes, Mr. Kpebu, I'm looking at the reason number 3 on the AG's press release, and I want your comment on it because of your involvement with Oral and where you stand on this. In pursuit of this objective, the Office of the Attorney General, in collaboration with other relevant state agencies, established a threshold of 60% recovery of the alleged losses to the state as a condition for reconsidering prosecution in specific cases. As somebody who was part of the team that is trying to recover all loot, in this case 100%, what's your position on the AG working with a 60% recovery in specific cases?
Well, okay, so Kojo, straight to the point, I embrace it, fully embrace it, in the hope that that was the best the Attorney General could get. You see, as we stated, I don't have insight, I didn't have any visibility on this, right? And it's not as if I'm required to have, because now he's fully in charge of investigations, etc. And in any event, this case started under the previous regime. So, Kojo, we still come back to the same point that then let's increase transparency in matters like this, that it shouldn't be only the Attorney General, but that they should bring independent lawyers, accountants, valuers, etc. of repute. It's no brainer. We can. Then number 2, let's also, and I'm sure the Attorney General knows it, such things, there is a condition usually put in such an agreement that in future, if we discover that you had hidden something, we'll count for it. So a typical example is Andre Agassi. Agassi, the popular tennis star. Yeah. He had an agreement. He hid some assets. Years later, they found it. The Germans went for it. So, and then number 3, in terms of the conflict, you see that this letter was authored by Sremsai, not the Attorney General. So you can see that Ayene is aware of the conflict. Just to put that on it. So let's do further debate.
Except that the deputy AG works under the instructions of Dominic Ayene. He can sign this letter, but who knows who said he should do so?
Now, when it comes to matters like this, usually in principle, the Attorney General has to cede independence to the deputy, that you are fully in charge. I'll do it as you see best. I mean, maybe he should come out and state it for the state to know that in situations like this where he's
I disagree with Martin on this. I disagree with Martin.
Why do you disagree?
No, let me say this. Under the Constitution of Ghana, the Republic of Ghana, you have the Attorney General and not the Deputy Attorney General. The Attorney General takes full responsibility, right, for all actions and inactions of that office and not the Deputy Attorney General. I don't know why Martin wants to go to great lengths to defend this.
No, please hold on, Martin. Let me just listen to the Major, and then I'll come to wrap up.
To go at great lengths to defend this or try to hold brief and make it seem as though it is impossible for Dr. Dominic Ayeni to have any influence in this matter. He has the final say.
Okay.
The Deputy Attorney General never accounts for anything. It is the Attorney General who accounts for it. If you even look at the Constitution of Ghana, How often do you even have deputies take over from their substantive ministers, even when they are absent by way of leave?
Nana J. Bafwewa, thank you very, very much. Martin Kpebu, thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. And Suleiman Abrahama, thank you very, very much for joining us. It's an ongoing conversation.